Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tim Moffat. This presentation is a look at managing corporate crisis communication based on the techniques used successfully in the past. It also serves to spotlight the problems that corporations have had in the past when choosing to ignore proven techniques for success in this field. Some basic techniques in mitigating damage in the crisis are taking responsibility, building sympathy, appropriate compensation, and framing the issues. Social media plays a role in these techniques because of its ease of access and ability to inform instantly. In some cases, equivocal communication should be used in order to mitigate fallout from information that is negative but not useful to the public.
In 1982, Tylenol famously mitigated a terrible crisis by utilizing the apology, compensation, sympathy technique when an unknown party poisoned the popular painkiller with cyanide, resulting in several deaths. Reportedly, the amount of cyanide added to the caplets was 65 milligrams, 10,000% more than necessary to kill a human being. This statistic made it painfully clear that there was no mix-up at a factory. Johnson & Johnson, Tylenol's parent company, followed their in-house guidelines of people first and property second, and conducted an immediate recall of the product nationwide. This recall amounted to 31 million bottles of the pain reliever at a cost of $100 million. Additionally, they put the product on hold by halting any advertisement of Tylenol. Obviously, Johnson & Johnson had not poisoned their stakeholders, but by ensuring public safety and recalling all the potentially tainted pills, they were able to save the reputation of the brand enough to move forward. At this point, Tylenol had to reintroduce the brand to still skeptical markets. They took some bold steps in order to ensure that their product was safe for consumers by introducing triple seal tamper-resistant packaging and promoting caplets over capsules. These steps also proved to be integral in changing packaging standards for products nationwide. Tylenol went on to offer a $2.50 coupon off of the price of purchase of the product, available through most newspapers, and a toll-free number. Johnson & Johnson made over 2,200 presentations to the medical community in order to restore confidence in the brand. All of these steps were quick, and they worked. Today, Johnson & Johnson stock is worth $121 a share, and confidence in the brand is steady. The crisis response strategy saved that company from bankruptcy. A few years later, Exxon would be faced with a crisis that could have been mitigated by utilizing the same methods as Tylenol. On March 24, 1989, the Exxon tanker Valdez spilled 11 million gallons of oil into Alaska's Prince William Sound, seriously impacting fisheries, national parks, beaches, and forests throughout the area. Tourism in the region was devastated as the entire area was doused in thick black crude. It took Exxon 10 days to respond to the incident with an ad in newspapers which overlooked television audiences that may not read newspapers. Also, Exxon's chairman, Lawrence G. Rawle, opted not to show up in Alaska to assess the damage that his company had caused. In his stead, he sent a team of individuals who were not trained in crisis management and were essentially winging it. Further, Exxon chose to only deal with people in the affected towns and not to communicate their intentions through the press. Exxon was slow to take responsibility, and their silence made them appear to be callous and uncaring to their stakeholders. Exxon had an unmanaged crisis on their hands, and they would suffer the consequences. They did eventually correspond to the compensation aspect of crisis strategy, and in the ensuing 25-plus years has paid out nearly $5 billion in compensation to the community and the cleanup process. Unfortunately, their name is synonymous with oil spills in general due to the faux pas in crisis management action strategy. Social media can be a useful tool in communicating a response to a crisis rapidly and is an effective way to reach out to stakeholders and take responsibility. Foster Farms used social media to inform the public of a salmonella outbreak from some of their chicken products. That action made it possible for them to keep their reputation from becoming irreparably damaged by the situation. Also, by taking responsibility, they were able to frame the situation before it was framed by the media and thus out of their hands. Framing a crisis gives corporations a chance to explain themselves to their stakeholders. The amount of information that should be shared with the public is quantifiable depending on the situation. Equivocal communication theory makes the case that certain situations call for limited disclosure of information to the public. Responses are based on situational awareness of the crisis and how it affects the public. Approach, avoidance, goal conflict situations are situations where one goal has both positive and negative outcomes. These are some of the situations where equivocal communication theory could be utilized to mitigate damages to reputation. The public may not need to know every detail of a situation if the company is refining processes that will ultimately make them more effective.
In conclusion, managing a corporate crisis situation is based on the type of crisis and its ability to create quantifiable damage. When faced with a crisis, a communicator should take quick action, accept responsibility, and compensate the damaged parties appropriately. By doing so, the conversation is framed by the offending party, giving them the ability to soften damages to reputation. And communication with stakeholders during a crisis is the only way to keep them up to date on the particulars of the situation and what is being done to solve the problem. Silence is mysterious and holds no answers for the public. Communicating that there is no information to communicate can be better for a company's reputation than silence. This shows a willingness to respond to the situation, opens the floor for conversation, and frames the conversation at the same time. If the company had a previously positive or neutral reputation, there is less of a reason for stakeholders to doubt the veracity of any statement coming